Hello, Internet, and welcome to the Rough Drafts Competes Journey of Wrestling League. It is the second week of our August weeklies set. This is where we start to separate from the pack. After all four of our competitors were within a single quarter star of each other as we get ready for our third gold pay-per-view. It's a very exciting time, and I'm very happy to be joined by my good pal and current leader of this league, Xander. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, technically, right now, I did get more fans than you last week, but we were tied in score. And when it comes to the weeklies, score is all that matters. It is a cumulative effort over time. And we have these three weeklies to set ourselves apart, try to secure that point. And oh boy, do I want a point because I don't like the fact that you are in the lead with the kinds of feuds that you have building up just in time for this pay per view. So I'm good overall, but certainly excited to see if I can try to sneak one up on you here. But we start obviously, we always work our way back based on the previous week's performance. So we're starting with the Campeonato de Luchasaur, and I'm going to ask you, Walter. Or God, sorry, Xander.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
rude of me. You know, here's the thing. Walter was in L.A. for the last several days, and so I'm
Mhm.
just used to talking to him about all these things. So I
But
sincerely apologize
but it
for
is
that being on the
exceptionally
brain.
rude because I have points on the board. In fact, the most points on the board. So confusing me with that guy?
Wow.
Come on now.
Wow. And right after he was in
Uh-huh.
pre-call with all of us talking NFL stuff. I see how it
Mhm.
is. Well, let's talk about Eduardo for a moment here because Walter was not the
Bill's
lowest
fan
scoring
this. Sorry.
performer. Eduardo was. What do you want to see from the Campeonato de Luchasaur this week, Sander?
What do I want to see from the Campeonato de Luchasur? I want to see some big matches. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the narrative push be coupled with some top tier performances,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to see my favorite wrestlers in this promotion win. And if I don't, I won't give as many holy shit moments.
That is a power that you have canonically, given the way that these last few weeklies have played out. And here, as the face of the two of us, I'm going to say I want to see the game not low roll what was an ambulance match with two 4-star workers that had an ambulance improvement. Somehow only get 4.25 stars when it has a 4-star ratings boost. That's what I want for Eduardo because that was fucking insane. So let's see if he's got better luck this week. We start with a feud that I've loved to see play out these last few weeks, which is the Constellation versus Here and Now. Again, for those of you who haven't watched in a while, No and Ryota is not the official name of this tag team. It's Here and Now. The game just didn't save it properly when this tag was initially made. And then it's been a very interesting back and forth between these two, right? The Constellation got the first win back in April, and in a tables match that kind of kicked off this feud. It was these two face tag teams with Tanner Raicho and Clayton Brown being two very talented wrestlers who couldn't quite figure out how to set themselves apart in singles performances. But Here and Now formed just before this feud started. And after kind of getting their feet under them, they ended up getting a victory against Constellation in their own tables match back in May. The feud was paused for a while because ultimately these are two lower ranked tag teams when you're looking from a popularity perspective, but the feud has always been hype. This is a top talent feud that went hot very quickly on. And it's understandable because these performers have kind of seen each other in some battle royales and some other contexts that have kept the feud alive. But back in July, the most recent time these pairs met in a weekly, Constellation took the lead with a cage victory. But they haven't been head to head since. And in tables matches, which is what we have tonight, it is a 1-1 record between the two of them. So the question is, does Here and Now, with El Tigre de Neon and the School of the Crab behind them, even up the rivalry and get the victory tonight? Or does the Constellation set themselves apart and secure a victory?
You know, looking at this one, I see two options presented before me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's true. That's a factual statement.
Mm, nope, not where I'm going with that. Okay. I see No, and I see Ryota.
Hmm.
Okay. And those are the two options. Which one of them is going to perform better with El Tigre de Leon behind them while they destroy the constellation? That's what I'm seeing.
Wow.
And that's what I choose.
Well, you have chosen wisely, my friend. It is a here and now victory. It's a hot match, 4.25 star, gets a popularity boost for both and a nice overness boost for the Constellation. I'm sure here and now would get one if they weren't already at 100% overness. It's only 4.25 star, but given the rating of these two tag teams, I think that's a very solid start to the night. Keeps the feud at 2-2. We know Eduardo loves to have these back and forth feuds, right? The Campeonato de Luchasaur prides itself on the idea that anyone can win on any given night. All of these wrestlers know how to get the most out of each other. And here and now, winning this match means that it's 2-2. They're neck and neck, and who knows? With a gold pay-per-view coming up, maybe we get the first pay-per-view match between these two competitors, because we have not seen them go head-to-head in a pay-per-view in a tag format. It's been all weekly so far. So, well done to Here and Now, evening up the title. You did not give them a holy shit moment, I noticed.
Yeah, no, not yet. The time will come. All right, he will be rewarded with one for this match, even if it's on a match I don't like. I've been a little bit more understanding in how I give them out recently.
Got it. I see. You're just keeping him on his toes. I respect that.
Yep.
Well, we go on then to a video package with the Rising Sun, which is really not helping Eduardo's claim that packages above 4 stars are just impossible to get, because that seems to be how this always goes. And it's good for me to note that doing a feud package, or a video package, I should say, on a faction does not increase the faction's reputation. It just increases the overness and popularity of everyone in it, which, to be fair, is very good for Keegan Cohen, one half of Phantom Troop. And, Rising Sun are in a very interesting spot here, Xander, because they don't have a leader right now. Their former leader, Caden Lee, was forced to join the Carnival of Carnage. So this package really focuses on how, the Rising Sun has yet to really reach its peak, right? They have Phantom Troop, they have Daiwak Damerla, Kenji Ryota, Ryuji Sakota. They're all relevant in various titles pictures, or they're close to getting there. But despite the School of the Crab kind of backing them every step of the way, they have yet to take that final push to reach excellence. They've been right there. And the question is how long it's going to take for them to push themselves finally over that last little hurdle and become the faction that they know they can be. And I, for one, like the fact that they chose to highlight this on this week's Destination episode. Just kind of a shame that it only gave them 3.25 star.
Yeah, that's obviously not what you want to see. I mean, producer focus bumped it, but listen, I'm just saying, there's something about these production packages, especially if you have like even one or two guys with like 2 charisma, right? They just go rough, and I don't know what the production package difference is, but I will say that I feel like there have been far more low rolls on the video package specifically than almost any other package I've seen. That might just be anecdotal, that might just be in my head, but I'm telling you right now, I know that my video packages, I've done like 2 that I can remember that like with a bonus were like 3.5 star, 3.75 star. When I've run plenty of other ones, no producer, no nothing, and they're well over 4 stars. So something tells me that they're like, not to kind of cope for Eduardo, but like these video packages specifically, there is something here that they are at a lower quality than the rest of the production packages.
See, I want to believe that for Eduardo's sake, but none of his packages ever get above 4 stars.
That's fair. That's fair. But I am telling you though, this video package specifically feels off to me. I've seen it. Like I feel like I've seen it with all of us low roll more than anything else.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He has another package coming up later tonight, so we'll see if we can test that theory out and if it makes much of a difference. But before that, we have a street fight match between Ryuji Sakota and Jack Azriel. And, you look at Jack Azriel and Ryuji Sakota, right? They started this feud at Make Your Choice in a 6-way Campeonato Antu ladder match that ultimately ended up with Gabriel Rivera taking that title. Jack beat Ryuji in the show right after that in a first blood match. But while both of them were in the Battle Royale at Resistance, neither were able to overcome Liam Draco. So they're kind of in this position where it's early on in this feud, right? Jack got the first blood, both metaphorically and literally, in that particular match setup. But Ryuji Sakota, he's got El Tigre de Neon in his corner. He has a much better record as a singles performer historically. Jack is mostly focused on his Poker of Pain work as a tag team specialist, has only recently really started to focus on more singles action. But the question is, does Ryuji bounce back here for a street fight victory, or does Jack Azriel take a 2-0 lead in this feud, Xander?
I think it's going to be Jack Azrael taking the 2-0 lead. I think Ryuji narratively, I think Ryuji's going to come back and either give a strong showing or outright win this thing. But I think that right now it makes the most sense. Jack Azrael putting the beat down on Ryuji one more time, giving him that win, and kind of pushing him up a little bit to 2-6, making this a little bit more of a contestable matchup, given that Ryuji's just very clearly a bit more experienced in the solos with wins.
It really whether which side you pick, I think comes down to, do you believe Eduardo cares more about a 50-50 in overall win rate or a 50-50 in an individual feud rate? And luckily for you, Xander, you're correct. It is Jack Azriel taking the victory tonight. It's a 4.25 star match, matching what he did earlier. It does give a little bit of a morale hit to Ryuji Sakota, but his morale was already at 100, so doesn't really matter in this context. It's a nice boost for Jack Azriel. He's continuing to climb up the card, and who knows? Maybe this is someone that Eduardo sees as a future face of the company. His demise gimmick is certainly very over as a 4-3. He's got a lot of potential there, should he want to push that. But unfortunately, not able to push past that 4.25 star mark, despite the 3-star ratings boost that his street fights are meant to give.
Yeah.
But we move on to a feud package, and like I said, I don't think it makes a lot of a difference when it comes to Eduardo's packages for reasons I do not understand. This feud package, 3.5 stars with the producer focus bonus. But it's a good package, right? I mean, this is Ashlyn Elliott and Luna Solis, two people who are a little bit lower on the card, right? Two wrestlers that are 2-2s, I believe. But, Ashlyn Elliott was kind of struggling to find her footing in this company. And Luna Solis comes in, as this former singing star, right? She came in and was expecting to be welcomed and have an opportunity to prove herself. And Ashlyn comes in immediately and says, no, I'm not letting someone else jump me in the women's roster just because you're new here, right? And Ashlyn did get her first win, which was a big step for her and her place in this company. It is her only win so far. But both of them, of course, were in that multi-woman match at Resistance where they ultimately lost to Suki Akiyama. Luna Solis was out first, the first eliminated, and has really struggled to make her mark. This former star trying to find her own light in the Campeonato de Luchasaur, with Ashlyn very clearly trying to keep her down. So I have to ask, in this tables match, in a feud that perhaps the fans have struggled to get behind so far, do you think that Luna finally finds her moment to shine, or does Ashlyn continue to push her down?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ashlyn taking the win here. I think Ashlyn's going to win the tables match, get herself a dub, make this feud between her and Luna, continue on, and I think Eduardo's hoping it goes hot here. I'm going to be real with you though. This one it doesn't impress me.
You're not impressed by two 2-2s battling it out?
Nope, doesn't do it for me.
I mean, at the end of the day, you need to get these wrestlers experience, right? You're obviously training people in the background, but they need to have matches if they're going to
Tell
get better in the long run.
tell Eduardo to get him packages.
Packages have he did. He did try to get them packages. It didn't help.
Mm,
But in this case,
more better or different packages. GG.
you are incorrect here. It is
Oh,
Lunasaurus. Oh boy. Whoo.
yep.
Not what Eduardo wanted to see. It actually lowered the quality of the feud here. It is nice for Luna. She gets a little bit of an overness boost and a little bit of a popularity boost. But the tables match appears to have decreased for this match. Again, you have not awarded any holy shit moments despite being happy with the first two matches. And this really, I think, has to hurt Eduardo's potential for this card. This was something he knew was going to be dropped, right? This is just, I'm furthering the feud. I'm giving them an opportunity to prove themselves. And it's okay if it's dropped as long as the other stuff goes well. But with some underperforming packages and some matches that maybe weren't quite as high, this is kind of a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, no, that's a bit rough. That's a bit rough. I mean, you're furthering the feud there. You're getting some good pushes on these two wrestlers, but um, yeah. This is the danger of running the tutus. Even if you're trying to promote them, it can go not great.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a reason that I think you and I have both kind of avoided using the tutus on our roster where we can. But I appreciate the attempt here. I think that if you sign someone like Luna Salas, right, he spent creativity points to bring her onto the roster. You don't want to just let her waste away, right? Getting her where she is now, being an upper mid carder, someone who can climb over time in the long run, that will be the right thing to do. But I forget which philosopher said this. In the long run, we'll all be dead, right? So it's just a matter of how quickly this gets sorted out and how much resources Eduardo is willing to spend on training to get there. Because as of right now, training takes a long time in this game. And it's going to take a bit, I think, before Luna gets to the 3-star work rate that Eduardo's hoping for. So we'll have to just wait and see how this goes. But we come now to a fascinating feud. Because you may be thinking to yourself, Xander, who the hell is Requiem Avillo? And why haven't I heard of this guy for quite a few months, despite him being a 4-3? And so let me give you and the folks at home a reminder. Requiem Avillo was actually the first person to feud against Adriano Cicelli. Requiem, as you can see here, is 0-10 in singles competition. And this is not because he has a tag and just hasn't had opportunities in singles matches. He has no tag. What he has done in this company is basically be in every single battle royale that Eduardo has to fill out the roster. But he has had no feud outside of Adriano. And the last time he faced Adriano, it didn't go well. Adriano beat him 3 times to wipe out that feud very quickly. And Requiem basically is like, look, you are the cause of all of my problems, right? I lost to you, someone who ended up winning a title, right? That's not something that should have been seen as a mark of shame against me, given what you have gone on to consider. But everyone just saw me lose to you and wrote me off. I didn't get opportunities to prove myself. I didn't get feuds where I could build my own story. And you went off and you had all of these different opportunities and you squandered them. And so at this point, I need to get revenge. I, as this legit murderer in this gimmick that I have, I need to prove that I can beat you. And Adriano, very understandably, is like, look, I don't need to deal with someone like Requiem, right? Requiem hasn't won a single match. He couldn't beat me in any of our matches back in our feud. I was a Campeonato Antu champion. I have bigger fish to fry. I have bigger things to strive towards. I'm past guys like Requiem. And he can be mad about that if he wants, but he could also just get good. And then he would be able to have those opportunities. It's not my fault that he couldn't prove himself. So Eduardo has approved this street fight match. This is Requiem trying to get revenge on the man he believes set his career in this kind of downward spiral. Xander, do you believe Requiem gets revenge tonight, or does Adriano Cicelli put him in his place?
I damn sure do. Requiem gets revenge. The legit murderer comes out of nowhere, bashing Adriano Cicelli to a bloody pulp. Match is going to be fire. Maybe a holy shit moment. I need to see Requiem win.
Yeah, it'd be a really lame story if Adriano just beat him again, right? This is indeed a Requiem of Velo victory. It's a nice boost for him. A 56 popularity boost is huge.
Pushes him into that main event status again. So
absolutely. And the 8%, he is well over and not in danger of dropping anytime soon. Adriano gets an overness boost as well. A little bit of a morale hit, but nothing that's a huge problem. And it calls back to that feud again, right? It's a hot match. The two do know how to work together. And you're right. We do finally get our first holy shit moment of the night with Requiem Avio suplexing Adriano Cicelli from the apron through a table outside.
He gave it to Requiem. I can't not give him one on that.
Yeah. It's very interesting to me, right? Like, you will get, if you do these like everybody else battle royale matches, the like everyone I couldn't find a place for, you're gonna have people with records like this. And so
yes, that's why you have records with people with 0-10. That is the only reason possible.
Look, let's not argue over who may or may not have given their wrestlers a lot of losses along the way, okay? In Eduardo's company, given that he does mostly one-on-ones during these weeklies, that's how you get there.
For sure.
And I'm glad to see Requiem getting a nod. Adriano getting a popularity boost here. I am fascinated to see what this means for him, because losing a feud to Requiem would potentially prevent him from becoming a face of the company. So what ends up winning out here is going to be fascinating to watch. But for now, Requiem gets to celebrate his first win.
Good job, Eduardo. Requiem to the moon, and I'll give you more holy shit moments.
Well, that's good for you to keep in mind, Eduardo, because it is good to get some of those creativity points as we head towards our next gold pay-per-view. But we move on now to Suki Akiyama versus Juno Ripshaw. Now, Suki, as you know, Eduardo said on the record, he is a Suki fan. And Suki has proven herself in numerous matches, including that multi-woman match at Resistance that she was able to get the nod on. But at the end of the day, last week, she had that 4-way creativity points on a pole match that Juno Ripshaw won and kicked off this feud. From Suki's perspective, it's like, how could I lose to someone as low as Juno Ripshaw, right? I'm 8-7. I've won all of these matches. I've had belts in the past. Juno is barely clinging to a 4-10 record, right? I am better than this, and I have to prove that I'm better than this. And Juno Ripshaw says, the fuck you are. I'm the one who's in the League of Extraordinary Women, right? I was given the invite to the most exclusive women's faction in the Campeonato de Luchasaur. You weren't. Because people can see, the real wrestlers, the ones who are there week in, week out, know what it takes to be the best, know that you're a fraud, Suki Akiyama. I have what it takes to win. And you can blame pole matches all you want. Pole matches are weird. They have all these different elements to it that throw people off. At the end of the day, I'm just better than you. And I know it. And I'm going to prove it tonight. So the question is, does Juno reassert herself in this feud and really establish that she is here to win a feud against someone as prestigious as Suki Akiyama? Or does Suki get revenge for the slight that she believes she suffered in losing that pole match last week?
It's going to be Suki Akiyama getting the dub, overcoming Juno Ripshaw here, taking the win, ensuring she stays at that face of the company status. But more importantly, putting Juno in her place after that loss.
If you asked me, without knowing any of the notes that I have, I would have said the exact same thing. After all, Eduardo's a Suki fan. How could he possibly give her 2 losses in a row to someone like Juno Ripshaw? And yet, this is the button I'm hitting. It's Juno Ripshaw. And Eduardo, was like, look, she's not going to lose 21 points. It's fine. The journey continues being a face of the company.
That's what I said once, Eduardo.
Well, in this case, it worked out, and it gave Eduardo his highest scoring match of the night so far from a ratings perspective. It is a morale and overness hit for Suki, though she was at max stats for both, so not really a problem, all things considered. But Juno, she is proving herself back-to-back matches. No holy shit moment. Even though it is a street fight increase for this particular match. But certainly a very interesting feud dynamic, right? This is Juno setting herself apart in a way that I don't think either of us expected. And I don't know, maybe it's just Juno's a 4-4 and Suki's a 4-3, and maybe, Eduardo's seeing the upside that someone like Juno has. But it will be fascinating to see what Suki will do in response to these losses, because I don't think she's going to take the sitting down.
I mean, I think she's going to take it lying down because she just got that ass whooped.
Well, we'll see what she does when it's outside of a straight fight. We will have to come back to that one. I'm sure we will see at the next pay-per-view what exactly she has in store. But for now, we've got ourselves a title match, ladies and gentlemen. The Guardianes del Pucara Femenino between Lethal Tempo and Phantom Troop. We saw Phantom Troop highlighted earlier tonight as a member of the Rising Sun, and they have done significantly better since joining the Rising Sun, right? They were at one point considered kind of a joke for this belt, right? They won the belt and then almost immediately lost it. And who can say whether or not the button that led Phantom Troop to be champions was meant to be pushed, or whether it was a misclick due to someone hitting the mouse wheel at the wrong time, right? Who can say whether or not that's why things turned around so quickly for them? But regardless of how they got there, they have put in the work to prove themselves since then, right? We've seen both Keegan Cohen, who is on her way to getting over with the fans, and La Fantasma, who is already over with the fans, prove themselves against some really strong tag opponents and climb their way towards being a number one contender. And, Lethal Tempo, they point to this and it's like, look, we've been feuding for a long time, right? Lethal Tempo first won the belt at Retaliation in April. They lost it in against Triple Threat, in a Triple Threat match, I should say, against Bittersweet the next month. And Lethal Tempo only just won it back at Make Your Choice. Sure, Phantom Troop got some tables victories at weekly shows back in May and June, but they have never wrestled Lethal Tempo when Lethal Tempo were champions. And Lethal Tempo, they're like, look, we have this belt. We've proven we know how to secure it. We're not going to let you beat us again. And we're not going to fall victim to this whole tables match thing that you seem to be particularly good at. If you want to get the title, we're going to a ladder match. Prove that you can grab it. Take what is yours if you really think you're better than us. And so that's the question, Xander. Does Phantom Troop grab the belts tonight in this ladder match? Or does Lethal Tempo reassert themselves in this feud and take the W?
Yeah, I'm giving it to 2XKO.
To 2XKO? Oh, no.
I'm gonna give it to Lethal Tempo.
Yeah,
I think that's a change. Yeah,
I knew what you meant. Unfortunately for everyone involved, I did indeed follow your logic there. It's a nice 8% overness boost, a big match here. I mean, you look at the overness boost for the feud. I think the feud just went hot. Overness for each of them. Even if Phantom Troop lose some popularity, the overness matters a lot more. That hot feud is going to give them a lot of opportunities. And oh, by the way, Skull Dreads and suplexing Keegan Cohen headfirst into a ladder gets 30 creativity points. And look, the Guardianes del Pucara Femenino Championships, that took a lot of a prestige hit, right? Because there were some constant back and forths. And this game punishes short reigns for its title belt. Whether it should or not, that's just how the game operates. But this is the kind of match that you have to claw your way back. It's a good rated match. The challenger has a good amount of prestige behind it. Lethal Tempo getting another good defense under their belt. And the fans are in. The good psychology bonus proves that he's doing something right. So I'm glad to see this feud go hot. I'm ready for Lethal Tempo and Phantom Troop to have some more matches And I am sure the Phantom Troop will be looking for revenge at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, great match. I mean, listen, I didn't give the holy shit moment for that match. That was for the one I owed for the first one.
Well, by that logic, you still owe one more for the Jack Azrael match. So we'll see what that means for Nightmare Blue versus Liam Draco in an ambulance match. And here's the thing. This is a blow-off for this feud because Liam Draco has been mostly dominant in this feud. It started all the way back in May when Liam Draco won a street fight at a weekly show. But at the end of the day, Liam Draco's biggest wins have been at pay-per-views. He has won 2 battle royales in the Campeonato de Luchasaurus, something no other wrestler has done. Liam's a fighter. He fights his way to the top of the pile whenever he's given an opportunity. But Nightmare Blue is like, look, when it's a one-on-one match, we're tied. I beat you in July in an ambulance match. And so if you're not afraid of me, if you truly believe that you are the better wrestler and you didn't just get lucky in these battle royales that are inherently a crapshoot, right? So many wrestlers, things like when you come into the match have such a huge impact on whether you win or not. If you're really just that much better than me, you should have no problem taking on another ambulance match. You should have no problem putting me in the back of that ambulance and proving once and for all that you are that much better than me. But I'm the ruler of the Sapphire Kingdom. And at the end of the day, I think you just got lucky. And I'm going to prove it tonight. So that's the question. Is Liam lucky or is he good? Does he have enough skill to put Nightmare Blue in the back of that ambulance and end this feud once and for all? Or does Nightmare Blue show the world that Battle Royale victories can only get you so far?
Yeah, I think Nightmare Blue is going to take the dub and say, hey, you know what? Battle Royales are cool and all, but listen, this is a real match right here for big boys. And it's my time to put you in the ambulance.
You are absolutely right. This is a Nightmare Blue victory. It's a nice boost here. That is not obviously going to help in a blow-off, but it will help the next feud with a bigger boost moving forward. It's a 4.5-star match, which has to feel pretty good. A nice boost for Nightmare Blue. Not that he really needed the morale or overness. It's a shame that the feud goes hot after it blows off, right? We always hate seeing that because obviously, if you knew that, you could have had some more matches there. But at the end of the day, it's a nice blow-off. It's one that will only set up a nice feud down the line when things heat up. It's a 5-star blow-off. You did not give a holy shit moment for it, which I think is a little harsh. But
listen, I gave him 2. And for the
That's
most
enough?
important one. Yeah.
That's fair. Well, we'll see if Eduardo...
Because I get the card right doesn't mean I always, give holy shit moments, all right?
That's fair. That's very fair. I just, look, Eduardo, he feels like he's put in a lot of work. The game was very cruel to him last week. But you know what? That's noted and appreciated. He has to earn it, and he's going to try to earn it here with his last match between Kelly Torres and Alyssa Rose. I almost feel silly recapping this story at this point, but you never know if someone's going to come in on YouTube and this is going to be their first match. So let's just hash over the details, right? Kelly Torres finally wins the title after a big feud against Hae Lee. Alyssa Rose immediately cashes in, takes it from her. Alyssa defends numerous times and sets herself up on the path to becoming a face of the company before Kelly Torres takes it back at Make Your Choice, and then again at Resistance. This has been Kelly Torres winning Iron Man matches. When it comes to outlasting Alyssa Rose, she has proven she has the stamina, she has the grit, she has the force of will. But ladder matches? Those have belonged to Alyssa Rose. Alyssa's won both ladder matches in this feud, and she won the TLC match at Deadly Gambit. They fought at 4 pay-per-views in a row, so they know each other really well. And the question is, does Alyssa's mastery of the ladder match come through and give her a clutch victory here? Or Does Kelly Torres prove that she has learned from her mistakes and that she is ready to defend tonight and retain this Campeonato Ryan championship title?
It's going to be Kelly Torres securing her championship once again.
Yeah, you're right. But oh man, that's nice to see. That's a 5.5-star match. Great form, giving a massive boost here. This is the match that gets doubled. So it's a huge, huge moment for Eduardo, getting his biggest match of the night in this spot. That's going to go a long way for some of the mediocre feuds, or mediocre packages, I should say. It's not a holy shit moment, but it is a very big moment here. And I think that's going to take his rating. Yep, that's it. That's a
4.5 star.
4.5 star, which is
after what did not look like it was going to be a 4.5 star card. So honestly, really solid job to recover it there at the end with the big match.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, people can say 4.5 stars. How good is that really? Well, in these weeklies, that has been enough to win on multiple nights. Last week, that would be enough to get a victory. 4.5 was what you and I received as the top scorers of the night. And there are weeklies in which a 4.5 average was what it took to secure the W. He is going to have to rely, because of that 2.25 last week, on some people falling a little bit back. But I think this is what he needed to maintain pace and to give himself that opportunity to have one more big weekly performance and secure that victory. And in the meantime, a lot of feuds getting where they needed to go, a couple feuds going hot, a really nice start.
Honestly, loved the Requiem match. Just a closing thought. I really enjoyed that match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very happy to see Requiem get a win. He's a lot better than his record indicates, and I hope this is the start of something big for him. But we move on to Walter. And, Walter has been playing for narrative. He's been playing for the storylines. He's been playing to build a wrestling show that feels more like a traditional wrestling show. And last week, that got him 4.25 stars and a better score than Eduardo when it came to fan hype. So this is really his opportunity to build on that. What are you hoping to see from the Stamford Wrestling Alliance tonight?
Listen, Stamford Wrestling Alliance have some of the best storytelling in the game, okay? And I'm looking for them, as I joke with Walter incessantly, I'm looking for them to come up with something unique, something I haven't seen yet, some kind of special package, so that I can steal it and min-max it.
Yeah, it has been the specialty of Glory of Legends so far, and we'll see if you find something tonight. Now, this is an interesting one because, obviously, after last week, we know that Daniel Stevenson and Jules Murphy both won qualification matches to fight for a number 1 contender slot for the men's championship. But before we can, get excited for that match, I'm being told there was security footage in which somebody seems to have come in and attacked him from behind. They were wearing a mask, so it is impossible to know, regardless of the button that I just hit here, it is impossible to know who it was that attacked him. But, he has been feuding with Ethan Wilde, right? It would make sense if Ethan Wilde, having gone back and forth with this Eternum Short feud, having finally put down the Civil War feud and given Short the victory, if he did not want any more from Daniel Stevenson, but who can say? It's impossible to know.
Whomst couldn't say.
What I do know, it's a 4 3/4 star segment, which is really nice for a segment that he'd never done before. Really nice score there. And it gets the feud between Ethan Wilde and Daniel Stevenson hot, which is huge because these two have been going back and forth narratively for a while now. It's such a natural feud partner for Ethan Wilde. The former Eternum members now continuing to go head to head. And at the end of the day, I think it's certainly tough for Daniel Stevenson. I mean, I don't know what this means for his number 1 contender slot, because we know he's not going to be in a position to fight Jules Murphy tonight. They're going to have to pivot. And, for someone like Walter, he's going to have to figure out how to put a show together over the course of the evening to make up for this. But at the end of the day, Ethan's got to be feeling pretty darn good about it.
Oh yeah, I imagine he is.
Whether it was him or not, and again, there's no way to know that
Dude,
it
how
was
could we
Ethan
know?
Wild.
How can we know? How
Yeah,
can we find out? How could we possibly know
he
who did that?
he wore a mask. That's all you need to know. Here's what else we need to know. We've got quite the feud here between Made in Japan and the lads. And we know that Shohei Hirano recently came back from an injury. And as a result, he and Kenzo Nai are ready to make a push for the tag team title. They're looking for their opportunity to prove themselves, to climb up the rankings, something they didn't really have because Shohei Hirano got injured so early on. And a group like Neon Wings is the perfect tag team to push yourself against, right? Because Neon Wings, they're great workers. They're the second best tag team in the lads. The only reason they weren't challenging for a title earlier is because they didn't want to go up against Down Under, their fellow brethren in the lads, right? Everyone knows how good of workers the Neon Wings are. And with Connor Crean now in their corner, a victory here would mean a lot for Strong Style. But of course, if you're Neon Wings, you have to defend the honor of the lads, right? You need to make sure that you are putting on a strong face, that you are not letting people walk over your faction, and really put this recent team up with Connor Crean to use against the Strong Style squad. So the question is, Xander, who do you think's getting the nod tonight?
Man, it's got to be Neon Wings. It's got to be Neon Wings tonight, and I don't want it to be. I'm not a big Neon Wings fan. You know this, but I think it's got to be Neon Wings as much as I want Strong Style to win.
See, I am a big Neon Wings fan. So I regret to inform you that you're going to be happy here because Strong Style wins tonight.
Nice bait. Nice bait.
I mean, it's a great match for a match without any gimmick whatsoever. It's a 4.5-star match. A smooth performances bonus has to feel very good. Certainly a little bit of a hit for Neon Wings, but they were at perfect stats, so who cares? And Kenzo Nai hitting Vance Eagles with a lariat, getting the 30 creativity points. You love to see creativity points come through in a non-gimmick match, which really comes down to just stiff workers making the most of their opportunities. Neon Wings know how to put on a show, but unfortunately for me, fortunately for you, it's not enough to secure a victory against Strong Style tonight. But here's the thing. After this match, you see Kenji Sabre and Kaito Sakura come to congratulate Strong Style for their victory. And who comes back but Craig Opley? Which this... already held is a little bit silly.
Oof.
Walter's going to be very mad about this because Craig Opley just got back, so there's no way he could have done this. But I guess there must have been an after-match attack sometime between the lads and Made in Japan. I don't know exactly when that happened. Maybe Kenji started some shit. But it does heavily reduce the effectiveness despite the action boost and despite the producer focus here, which is a real shame. But the highlight here should be Craig Opley's back. Craig Opley hasn't been here since losing that loser leaves match against Ethan Wild. But his return means that this is now a fair 4v4 between Made in Japan and the lads. They're now at even strength against each other. And I, for one, think that's pretty cool. But I guess the game is like, well, somebody attacked somebody after a match before, so here we are. How do you feel about this development here, Xander?
I mean, listen, the Craig Opley Kenji Sabre stuff is of course interesting. Sucks to have that negative hit for such a cool segment, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Craig being back is the most important thing. This will be dropped, and with everything we've seen so far tonight, I think Walter's still in a good spot. But yeah, definitely something to keep in mind, right, with these faction feuds. If anything has ever happened, whether it's a distraction, ending, or a certain type of segment, even if the individual wrestlers weren't involved, the game punishes you all the same. So you gotta, with these faction
just gotta
feuds,
get good. Yep.
It's a lesson I've learned the hard way. It's a tough one all the same. But we move on to another match, this one between Down Under and Pocket Rocket. Now, these two have been feuding, back in the day, but it was back when Down Under were champions, right? This was a new challenger feud when Down Under were the team to beat. But Pocket Rocket right now, they believe they should be the number one contender, right? They believe they have everything it takes. They've been working their way up the division. Sure, it's only a 3-3 record, but those wins have been impressive ones, and they've all been more recent, all things considered. And so what do you do if you want to be the number one contender? Well, you beat the people that previously won the title. You beat the people that the current title holders had to beat to get the title in the first place. And that's Down Under. And Down Under, they were very strong for a long time, right? They won 6 matches in a row. It felt like they were unstoppable. 2 4-4 performers in Matt Militant and Sean Torres. There's a reason they held that belt for as long as they did. They've really only lost to Hollywood Bound, the current champions. So the question becomes, Xander, does Pocket Rocket have what it takes to take down Under and assert themselves as the number one contenders, or have they bitten off more than they can chew against a team as talented as Down Under?
I think they've bitten off a little more than they can chew tonight. I think Down Under are going to remind people that they're really good. And it's going to be them putting Pocket Rocket in their place a little bit, saying, hey, listen, guys, you might be talented enough to wrestle us now, but honestly, you're not ready yet to take the dub against Down Under.
It's an interesting theory. Would your answer change if I told you that Walter has a mission for Trevor Ace to become a main event?
Before you even finish, yes.
Yeah. It's Pocket Rocket for sure. And it's a nice match. It's a 4 3/4 star match. Pocket Rocket getting an overness boost is huge because it means Trevor Ace is now over with the fans. That's going to boost him up to a 4-4. He was previously a 3-3. He now joins his brother Leonard Ace, who is already a 4-4. So a big victory for him tonight. It's a morale hit for Down Under, right? They've lost too many matches in a row. Dropping to 75 morale, something that Walter may want to keep an eye on. But overall, it's a really nice moment. It's a big win for the Kingdom. The Pocket Rocket has really been the Kingdom's ace in the hole for, just pun absolutely intended. And it's a really nice victory for them. We'll see what they can do with it. But right now, if you're Walter, you're feeling pretty damn good about the result here.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, the matches are going hot right now. Like, they're doing really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The game finally rewarding him for some of the storytelling he's been building. But we do have to move on to Theodore Vincent Heritage title match between Cobra Gaston and Kevin Bates. Well, here's the thing, Xander. As you know, sometimes wrestlers come to Walter and they ask for things, right? And tonight, Cobra Gaston shows up and says, hey, I'm here. Ready to earn my paycheck tonight. And Walter's like, well, I don't think you have a match tonight. And he's like, yeah, but I'm here. So where's my paycheck? Walter's like, well, you would need to wrestle tonight if you're going to get paid for being here. I didn't ask you to come here. It's not my fault that you're here right now. But hey, look, if you could find someone to wrestle, then maybe you can earn that paycheck and we can move on our day. And just as he says that, Kevin Bates, who is repeatedly the guy who just kind of walks on by whenever somebody needs a match, walks right past Walter's office, and Cobra Gaston says, look, I'll fight Kevin Bates tonight, and not only will I fight him, I'll put my title on the line. So then I can get paid for a title match tonight. And Walter's like, well, sure. If you're willing to do that, Kevin, are you down? Kevin's like, yeah, I'm always down. I'm Kevin Bates. I'm pretty. I'm deadly. This is what I do, baby. And so here we are. It's Cobra Gaston versus Kevin Bates for the title. Who do you think's getting the win?
It's going to be Cobra. It's going to be Cobra. I'm sorry, Kevin. You're not ready yet, buddy.
No. Look, this is a match that exists because Kevin Bates is the meme of the Stanford Wrestling Alliance, and I love it. Cobra Gaston, a little bit of a morale hit. I think he's looking at Kevin Bates as someone who's a little bit beneath him in general. But, that's fine. His morale is very high, all things considered. Kevin certainly gets a morale boost. He's just happy to be in a match like this. The crowd was in. It's a good performance overall between the two of them. There's no holy shit moment or anything like that, but there is a boost for the Theodore Vincent Heritage title. You will see Contender did not contribute any points, so I guess the game also agrees that Kevin's not on a level to challenge for this quite yet. But I, at the end of the day, I just appreciate Kevin's always down, right? He's just a right place,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
time
he's
kind of
ready
guy.
to do it.
Yeah. Okay, good for you, Kevin. Cobra, congrats on the victory. You may not like that you had to wrestle someone like Kevin to get your paycheck, but I hope that paycheck was worth it. But now we have an interesting segment here. Empress Kabuki and Angelina Cardinal talking to each other in the ring. The trash talk, unsurprisingly, very intense, right? Empress Kabuki has seen Angelina Cardinal as her number one threat for a while now. The Empress is 8-0 in singles competition. She's done everything she could to weaken her opponents every step of the way. And in this moment, Angelina Cardinal is like, look, I'm not afraid of you. Yes, you're undefeated right now. But I know what I'm capable of. And you know what? More than anything, I know you're scared of me. I know that you arrange matches to weaken me down, to get me tired so that you can face me when I'm not at full strength, because you know what'll happen when I'm at full strength. I'm not afraid of you, but I know you're afraid of me. And at the end of the day, that's enough to provoke Empress Kabuki, and Angelina knocks her flat on her ass. Gets the finisher here, and is able to stand tall in the face of the Empress in this segment.
Hell yeah! Listen,
Yeah.
good for Angelina Cardinal, man.
Yeah. It's a nice segment here. I like 4.25 star. It's a bronze segment, so these things are always going to be.
But still, 100% effectiveness, 4.25 roll. That's looking good. I like that. I like that one.
Yeah, a nice
might yoink that one.
Yeah, nice popularity boost for Angelina too. Sets her up. No shame to Empress Kabuki. She, of course, starts cursing in Japanese. I don't know what she says. I don't speak Japanese, but I can tell from the inflection there are a lot of words that would be unfit for broadcast if they were understandable to the watching public at home. So, very clearly not happy with how this went down. But, Angelina Cardinal, I applaud her bravery in the face of a demon like the Empress Kabuki. And I hope it pays off for her. I really do. I like what she's done, and I hope that she might finally unseat the Empress one day.
Very, very, very could well happen. Very could maybe.
Very, very maybe. Yeah, it's
very, very maybe.
With Walter, right? You have these wrestlers who have never lost. You have one of those, but most of these titles go back and forth. This is the one the Empress really has stood her ground, and we'll see if this is if Angelina is as dangerous as she believes herself to be. But we do have to move on to a Virginia Warbler versus Rick Dolan match. And Virginia Warbler, he's been asking Walter for competition, right? He's like, look, I've been underutilized in this competition. I know it. You know it. I am better than this. I'm one of the best from the indies, and I've put on nothing but good matches for you. And I need more opportunities. And Walter's like, look, I understand that you want opportunities, but I gave you a feud against Cobra Gaston, and you lost. You lost bad. And Virginia's like, look, I get it. I did lose that feud, and I have to earn my way back up the card. But I'm willing to fight my way to it, right? I'll go from the back of the line and earn my spot for a title shot. So give me somebody. Just give me a chance, and I'm going to prove it to you. And Walter kind of goes down his list, and he's like, well, Rick Dolan, a member of Eternum, needs to prove himself too, right? The 42-year-old, he's a little bit older, but he was a member of the Eternum Trios champion that initially started that belt. But since then, Rick Dolan hasn't been doing much of anything, right? He hasn't proven himself, hasn't really asserted himself, has yet to get a singles victory. And so Walter says, look, Virginia, if you're going to be a guy that can challenge for a title, that can climb up this card and become a main eventer one day, You need to beat somebody like Rick Dolan. And Rick, I mean, if you are who you say you are, right? If you're someone worthy of that Eternum championship you once won, Virginia Warbler should not be a problem for you. You should have no problem taking him out. So both of you have a lot to prove tonight, and I look forward to seeing which one of you can pull it off. And that's the question in front of us, Xander. Which one of these two competitors is going to pull off the victory tonight?
Oh, this is rough. I think, though, narratively, it has to be Virginia Warbler. Virginia Warbler really needs the win a lot more than Rick Dolan. I think Virginia, is someone that Walter wants to propel up a little bit, given where he was at before in terms of the wrestlers he's interacting with and everything he kind of stands for within the SWA. And Rick's the guy that's taken the hit tonight.
You are absolutely right. It is a Virginia Warbler win. It's 3 3/4 stars. I think that mostly comes down to, Rick, even while over, not necessarily the most impressive worker out there. It's a bit of an overness and morale hit for him. He's kind of struggled to find himself. But overall, it's a decent match. No, the feud here starts with this. We'll see how much Walter actually plans to make out of this. I will say, shout out to Walter. He has learned you might as well make a feud for matches like this, right? The 5 creativity points is worth whatever boost
Worth
you
the
can
investiture.
get.
Yeah.
But we'll see whether this is a long-term thing or just the next stepping stone for Virginia. But I agree with Virginia. He is a little bit underutilized. He does have the potential to be something great. And while he doesn't get the overness boost here that I'm sure Walter was hoping for, this can be a stepping stone on the path to something bigger. So fingers crossed to him for that. But we move on. Telenovela versus Eternum. Now this is a fun one, right? Because Maester Gomez is still mad after losing to Brooklyn Cambriel at Beach Break. She's like, look, that wasn't fair. It wasn't a fair fight. I want another shot. I want another opportunity. And Brooklyn's like, look, I'm better than you. You can be mad about that all you want, but we've had our matches and I've proven that to you and you need to let it go. And Maester's like, oh, well, if you're so great, then you should have no problem in a 1v2 match with me and my tag partner, Consequencia, right? Like, that's no problem for you if you're as good as you say you are. And Brooklyn's like, you know what? Look, you want to fight a 2v2? That's fine. Because I have a friend right here. Her name is Trixie Albright. And Trixie Albright was just kind of biting into a sandwich at the time and kind of looks up like a, and she's like, look, Trixie just went down to training. She built herself back up. She's been trying to prove herself. And really show what she has to offer. And this is going to be her moment to prove herself in a big match. So we're going to fight you 2v2 and we're going to win. And Maester just laughed in her face like, okay, you want Trixie Albright? You can have her. Sounds great. Let's see you tonight. And so that's the match we have. We have Telenovela with Maester Gomez and Consequencia versus Brooklyn Cambriel and Trixie Albright. Who do you think's getting the W here?
Listen, I think that Telenovela's winning, but I have to root for Brooklyn Cambriel. When Brooklyn is on the screen, I root for Brooklyn. I understand the tag nature of this and that Telenovela very likely get the win, but I don't care. Brooklyn Cambriel is taking it home with or without Trixie Albright.
Well, I have good news and bad news for you. The good news is that Brooklyn Cambriel will not be pinned tonight. Bad news is that Trixie Albright is pinned, and that gives Telenovela the victory. Brooklyn looks great. It's just, she put a little bit too much trust in Trixie a little bit too quickly. And unfortunately, that leads to a 3 1/4 star match. It's a victory for Telenovela, a tag that has needed a victory for a bit here. Maester and Consequencia do know how to work together. And, Brooklyn Cambriel, as strong as she is individually, in a 2v2 setting like this, all you need is a little bit of weakness, a little bit of an opening. And much like Kaio Jade in the 2v2 match we saw that led to Ariana Black losing in my promotion, Trixie Albright ends up being the weak link here.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, again, as long as Brooklyn looks good, I'm okay with the match.
Yes, she does indeed look good with that particular match. But we do move on to a fascinating segment here. Because, Tyler Dynamite walks out with Prodigy, the faction he just joined last week. And you and I were both kind of shocked by that, right? Prodigy, they're a heel faction, right? Why would Tyler Dynamite join them? Why is Devontae Harrell going out of his way to help? And Tyson Morriso, he gets on the mic and he's like, I remember, Tyler, when your dad was trying to be a wrestler. And I got to tell you, he didn't amount to much. And you see Tyler, he's about to kind of cut in here before Tyson continues in wrestling because he cared about the most important job, being a dad. He goes on to explain, Tyler's dad wants the best for him. Tyson and Tyler's dad were friends. And at the end of the day, Tyson and Prodigy are here to help Tyler get the match he deserves against Christopher Devlin. What happens after your fight against Devlin? Who can say, right? We're not here to promise the long-term future of our faction. But what we can promise you is that we're going to help you get that fair fight against Devlin. We're going to give you a fair fight against Dominatus Tenebris. Because that's what you deserve. It's what your dad deserved. It's what you deserve. And we'll go from there. And at the end of the day, that build honor here has really won the fans over. It's a 4.25-star segment. And Prodigy has turned face with Devontae Harrell getting over as a result. A huge moment for Prodigy, especially because Devontae Harrell, as the leader, gets a multiplier on that boost. So how are you feeling about the segment we just watched?
Yeah, I love it. I actually love it. I love Prodigy. I consistently root for them. And seeing this turn here is kind of mind blowing. I can't wait to see what Walter does with it, honestly.
Yeah, it's a really nice turn. It's nice to see that factions can make a full turn as a unit. That's something that I was not sure.
Oh, that's something I'll be stealing. 100%. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yes, this is definitely something I was paying attention to tonight as well. Between that and Eduardo's giving a video package to a faction as a potential save for my two factions that are languishing at one reputation. These were good things to learn. But yeah, it's a huge boost for Prodigy. It's a huge boost for Devontae Harrell. And it does lead us into our last match of the night. Our main event between Tyler Dynamite and Assassino. Because at the end of the day, look, everyone in Prodigy, they're like, we're going to help you against Dominatus Tenebris. But Christopher Devlin, he wants nothing to do with Tyler Dynamite. And, why is that? Depends on who you ask, right? Devlin would say that Tyler just isn't good enough, right? He's not a real challenger to my title. I used to work with him back in Dominatus Tenebris. There's a reason we kicked him out. There's a reason that we didn't feel a need to latch onto this guy. And I have no need to lower myself to fight him. But, if you're maybe somebody less inclined to take Christopher Devlin's word on everything he says, perhaps he's scared of Tyler Dynamite. Because Tyler Dynamite's on a 3-match win streak. Tyler Dynamite, since going face, has built friends. He's built allies. He has camaraderie that allows him to compete against the waves of lackeys that Devlin will throw at anybody to ensure that he maintains his title. And Assassino here, he's been sent out for exactly that purpose, right? It's time to put down the usurper. It's time to shut down this errant dream that Tyler Dynamite has of being good enough. And that's your job, Assassino, as the unruly face of Carnage, is my bodyguard. Your job is to make sure that weaklings like Tyler Dynamite never show their face in a match against me. And so that's what's up for grabs here. Does Assassino put down Tyler Dynamite, or does Tyler Dynamite prove that these lackeys are not going to be enough to keep him from his challenge against Christopher Devlin?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be the Tyler Dynamite dub. As much as I want to see Assassino win, I hate that he's losing again. I think it's got to be the Tyler Dynamite dub.
It sure does. And it's a 4.5 star match. It's a nice win for Tyler. I mean, look, Tyler is on his way to becoming a face of the company. He technically hasn't started it yet because it turns out doing if you don't have a match at a pay-per-view,
Yep.
you don't start the journey, which is very silly because he wasn't a segment at the pay-per-view. But what are you gonna do? Um, it's a huge win for him. It's also a feud start between Dominatus Tenebris and Prodigy, right? That is
Yep.
officially kicking off another faction feud for Walter in this
Which
moment is great.
again makes sense why we do that turn and now we've got this feud going. I love it. Great stuff
Yeah,
from Walter.
it's a really
Loved
nice
loved the
setup.
card.
Four and a
Loved the
half
card.
stars is a good thing to duplicate. It is going to be a 4.5 star card, just like Eduardo. A nice bounce back week here. And yeah, something he can very much be proud of. I love this, what he's doing with Prodigy, right? The face turn, boosting Tyler Dynamite, playing into this idea of this family connection and this thing that's bigger than wrestling. I think is the kind of story that is super engaging. It's the kind of thing I would love to watch if it was a real WWE or AEW storyline. And I'm glad to see it rewarded tonight. Sometimes the storytelling is not given the love that Walter has put into it, and I feel like the game recognized tonight that this is one heck of a card.
Yeah, no, looked fantastic, was fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, Xander, we move on to your card tonight, since technically I gained slightly more fans than you did last week. So tell us, what does Glory of Legends have to offer tonight?
All right, folks, you know what it is. It is faction feud on faction feud. It is key hype wrestler, faction leaders going at each other, faction lieutenants going at each other. And we're also featuring some returning people that haven't been, let's say, framed in this way in a while. And you'll see that coming up in just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it because I know you've got some cool stuff for us. Starting with a handicap beatdown. Oh no, Christian Quinn. What happened?
Christian Christian Quinn comes on out, right? And he's trying to hype the fans up. Like, listen, we got a great card tonight. I want to remind you guys that, Police Demos were the new faction. We're here. We're here to represent everybody. And while he's getting that out, Xander Cage's music kicks on. And out of nowhere, Xander, Leah, Aiden, and Bruno charge the ring and absolutely beat the crap out of Christian Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, that is just absolutely brutal. I look, I understand Kanoto Karius, they don't like the idea that more people from around their level of popularity are teaming up, but a 4-on-1, that's just unsportsmanlike.
Listen, we talked about it before. Kanoto Karius, they come on strong, they come on fast. All right, they are genuinely the Burgundy Bandits here, coming out and putting the hurt on people. They don't care about fair fights. They don't care about any of that. All they care about is inflicting pain and being the ones taking the win home.
Well, they sure inflicted some pain, and they kicked off this faction extortion feud that is now going to play off. And I don't know how much time passed because Christian Quinn gets beat up in the ring, and suddenly we're at a Barnes and Noble between Police Demos and Kanoto Karius.
Yeah, yeah. So listen, it pans over to a segment. All right, and this is actually what folks didn't know. This had already happened. Okay.
Mm.
Police Demos, Christian Quinn was, trying to educate himself. Police Demos, they see themselves as, very, very intelligent intellectuals within the Glory of Legends. And they're trying to bring a different style, a different understanding of wrestling. And, Rich Larson and Christian Quinn are there. They bring Hiromu Inchi along and say, hey, you know what, let's bust out some books on philosophy. Let's read some Socrates, some Plato, some of the classics. Let's educate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're there looking through the books, Kanoto Karius show up and
Mm.
they wreak absolute havoc.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine Konodo Karius were there for reading. They must have known Police Demos were going to be here, and they're coming much more prepared, I imagine. Uh, is Konodo Karius securing the win here? Or does
They sure are. Listen, they sure are. Christian Quinn, he takes the brunt of it both times. He is getting absolutely demolished here. And that was one of the reasons he came out tonight expecting that everything would be fine. He already took the beat down. He knew this segment was coming.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, the Konodo Karius don't stop. They'll find you at home. They'll find you in the ring. They'll find you wherever you are. If you're on their radar, you sure don't want to be.
Yeah, they did indeed find him down. It is a 4-star match, which needed a little bit of blood to get them over that line here, despite the brawl match effect increase. I have to imagine that's just like a popularity thing at the end of the day. It's a little bit of a morale hit for Police Demos, but as we see here, it appears Rich Larson has a bit of a new gimmick that we'll maybe see a little bit more about in just a bit. But for now, we will move on to a new association. It looks like perhaps a new trio is in the works.
Yeah, so listen, Rich Larson, Christian Quinn, and Hiromu, after suffering, from this beatdown that you all just witnessed, they said, listen, we can't get caught out like this again. We can't let something like this happen. We have to be prepared. Kanoto Karius were prepared. They came out ready to go. Xander Cage, Aiden Astral, right? And even Bruno Henderson, but really, looking at what Xander Cage, Cassidy, and them have done, if we want to go toe to toe with these guys, we formed this faction for this express purpose. That people like Konodo Karius were just demolishing the lower mid card, demolishing the upper mid card, and taking names. If we want to be able to protect ourselves, we have to be ready to go. And so after this beatdown, they come together, they form their new tag, their
Understandable,
trio.
honestly, right? Like we see people, it's a bond through adversity, right? It's a tough loss at a Barnes and Noble. No one wants to get beaten up at a Barnes and Noble. That's a tough story to have to explain to your friends when they ask where all those bruises came from at the end of the day. But they've come together stronger, right? That's ultimately the best case scenario, is these three talented wrestlers coming together and deciding that if we're all together as a team, if we stick together, we can be something greater than what we've been. And of course, that's punctuated by Rich Larson here, who, as we know, has this wise philosophist gimmick, which is going to get a hype boost moving forward. But tell us, Xander, because when people think eye patch and a mask like this, a philosophist may not be the first thing that comes to mind. What is it about Rich that's really changed here tonight?
Yeah, listen, Rich has sat down with himself, as well as Police Demos, and said, I think that the best way for us to move forward is, through, education and through, finding the goodness in ourselves. Now, the eye patch, I'm going to be real with you. His eye took a beating.
Mm.
His eye is genuinely injured. That is not a gimmick. That is not a what's behind there. He just took a beating back to back. Okay, and in his match before this too, his eye is genuinely injured, folks. All right,
Mm-hmm.
that eye patch may come off one day, but right now he is genuinely injured. Um, and the face mask is just him feeling that his face doesn't matter here. He is a leader within Police Demos, and he wants to show some a kind of unity, and the gray is their faction color, and so he's trying to represent that to its fullest.
I think that's very fair. I'm sorry to hear about his eye. That's obviously got to be tough. And I'm also sorry to hear that their color is gray. That's a for a faction. I tend to prefer a little bit of brightness here. But you know what? Rich Larson's a serious guy. He's putting serious thoughts to the test. That's what he's focusing on now, is this more intellectual character, and we will see what this means for him. He's got
Listen, all
notable
joking aside, there's
organization.
only so many colors I get on the spreadsheet. Okay, so he's gray. They're gray. That's the color.
That's entirely fair. And it's entirely fair. Rich Larson getting two different 2% over in his boost. Not quite enough to get him over with the fans tonight, but I have a feeling that he's going to be over very soon. But before we can see that, we have to move on tonight to a match between Black Bull and Braden Castle. What brings these two to the ring tonight?
So we are back at it with Burn It All Down and For the People. Now, a reminder, Braden Castle is a guy right now that is nearing the top end of For the People's roster. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Him, Azaki, uh, it's really him, Azaki, Alex, Jim, and Heika who are kind of leading the way. Jade Gatlin, of course, another notable name holding onto a belt right now that has a good bit of influence, but she's kind of relatively new to this upper echelon. And so Braden is sort of seen as, I mean, for the longest time he was the guy, right? For the People had that tag belt for so long, and it was Braden and Alex Jim. Now arguably Azaki Cordova holding a little bit more influence than him. And they're not kind of the ones to squabble over these like faction leadership roles. But Braden is in this situation where he is consistently tested, and the top ends of other factions are constantly going after him because his solo success has been a lot weaker than his tag success,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so Executioner Goro, listen, Johnny did a great job of pegging the right matches and just did, his mistake was not setting himself up at the right moments and being focused on the wrong things. The honest truth is that Executioner Goro, outside of his individual loss, has picked match after match after match, and he thinks this is the weak link right now. He thinks that he can go out there with Black Bull and coach him to a win over Braden Castle, which would be massive because Black Bull is nowhere near the talent right now that Braden Castle is. Black Bull's a monster. He's a workhorse, but he has taken a ton of losses being this kind of probe, and Executioner Goro says, no, not tonight. You're not a forward soldier. I'm not throwing you to the wolves to try and figure it out. I want you to go out there and I want you to make Braden Castle bleed.
Yeah, I mean, that is what Black Bull does best. He's a little bit of a dangerous worker, but so far I don't believe responsible for any injuries. I mean,
not one yet.
Look, Braden, sure, he's a little bit weak in singles performances, but Black Bull has been very weak in singles performances, 2-13 overall, including a
again,
9-loss streak, which is tough.
With the context, though, that he's been wrestling people above his weight class, basically.
I mean, Braden as a singles performer, I think, has had some strong matches too, but something tells me, with how quickly you are there to defend an 0-9 streak right now, that you've got some big plans for Black Bull here tonight.
Yeah, Black Bull's taking the win. Again, Black Bull was also not coached by Executioner Goro for 6 of that loss streak.
Yeah.
And that change does matter. It is very notable. Because now with the faction leader behind you, also he did make him bleed. He literally made him bleed,
sure did.
Which I love. I love that. I love that narrative worked out perfectly. But no, listen, Black Bull's a super talented wrestler. He needed direction. He needed guidance. And prior to this, Executioner Goro was using him to wrestle the top of the top. Bear in mind, 2 of those losses are in matches with Johnny Hangtime, right? And he is a 900 popularity guy. So him, Executioner Goro, finally using him to go after matches he can win is very different. And despite Braden, being good, to be honest, of those 8 matches, not all of them are at the highest level. Half of them are, half of them aren't. So Executioner Goro pegged it correct tonight. This was the perfect match to have Black Bull go out there and secure a win for Burn It All Down.
It's a big win for him. I definitely think Executioner Goro joining is the difference maker, right? He's someone who knows how to point Black Bull in the right direction. It's obviously a tough loss for Braden. We can see in the morale hit here. He hates to lose, but let's be real. He was at 100 on both of those things. He can take a little bit of a hit. It is not going to be much of a problem. It is a 4.25 star match, which you have to be feeling pretty good about given where the rest of the card has been at. But the question will be whether Black Bull can maintain this momentum. I mean, even when he's been losing, right? The fans love him. He's been climbing up the card slowly but surely, and he's now just 25 points away from his climb to be a face of the company. And I think it is dangerous for the rest of this company if Black Bull is a face of the Glory of Legends, because you do not want a rampaging bull in the over 1,000 popularity mark if you're trying to make a name for yourself. That is a dangerous man to be given that kind of power.
You're damn right.
But we move on, and this is a fascinating one because this is a tag team that I think a lot of people may not even know about because Stardust has not really wrestled together in a while. What's
Yeah.
happened here?
Listen, this is back in the old days, okay? Maricela and Paisley were, early on into our promotion a tag. And Maricela very rapidly made her way up the card. And on top of that, she joined Burn It All Down, which honestly left Paisley behind, like very, very far down the card. And notably and recently, Paisley herself has made a change, right? Uh, Paisley has joined Kanoto Karius. And now that they are both a part of these different heel factions, they said, listen, we didn't wrestle a lot together. And I respect you. You respect me. But no more. You need to focus on Burn It All Down. I need to focus on Kanoto Karius. Maybe there's another time in the future that we can come together. But right now, my faction is most important to me. And they both feel the same way. Maricela says, Paisley, I'm about to become the face of Burn It All Down. I am about to become the right hand to Executioner Goro. And I cannot have this tag weighing me down. And Paisley says, listen, I respect what you've done. I respect all of that. I'm going to do what you're doing, but I'm doing it for Kanoto Karius. And it might take me a little longer to get there, but that's what I'm doing. And we'll meet up at the top. And we'll take it from there.
Okay. I have a lot of respect for it, right? They're on different paths at this point in their lives, and it's okay to admit that things aren't working out. I do think it says a lot about the way that you build storylines, right? That this is the third time you've used the cutting ties segment, something that I don't think any other player in this league has used. But it's led to a 4.25-star segment. The fans are interested in it, and it's led to a popularity boost for Paisley. She comes out looking a little bit stronger here, perhaps just being willing to separate herself from someone that would be an easy pull up the card, right? Sticking with Maricela is the easy way out. Doing it her own way is harder. And I respect Paisley for that at the end of the day. I may not like everything Kanoto Karius is doing. I think that they've been very brutal in how they've handled, attacking people in a bookstore. That's pretty harsh. A
Monster.
4v1 team off. I just, it's tough to get behind that. But, Paisley in this moment, she's going her own way. She's not taking the easy path. And I have to respect that. But speaking of not taking the easy path, Deputy Newland versus Kota Super, these two were formerly in a tag together.
That's
and
right.
Now we're fighting in a street fight. How did we get here, Xander?
Bear in mind, there was a time where Deputy Newland was one of the few faces in Burn It All Down. He was the comedic relief for a very, very serious faction. And Executioner and Krieger sat him down and said, listen, you can go one of two ways. You can change everything, or we'll kill you. And Deputy Newland at first was, kind of shrugged it off, but then he had that really, really severe loss in his faction feud with Phil Hangtime, and he really lost himself. He thought he was about to come back on a rebound, ended up taking two big losses and losing the biggest feud that built his career. And it changed him. It changed him irrevocably. And when that happened, Kota Super, right, who is the Prince of Harlem, Kota Super, a member, of course, of Brigantia, said, I don't recognize you anymore. I know you were in Burn It All Down before, and we were cool being a tag. Even after I joined Brigantia, we were still a tag. But I don't recognize you anymore. And that was when they cut ties. And ever since then, Deputy Newland has begun asserting his authority. He sees Kota Super. When they get out of the ring, when they fly back home, they still see each other. And what used to be a bond of friendship is now pure, unadulterated hatred. And Deputy Newland wants to exercise his authority on Dakota Super. Prince of Harlem? No, you're garbage. You're trash. You're a street urchin. And Kota Super is saying, you're not going to say these things about me. I've known you for a long time. I know you might be deep down in there somewhere, but right now, you need to shut your mouth. And they're going at it.
Yeah, it's a tough back and forth here. You hate to see two former tag members going back at it, but at the end of the day, I have to imagine with what Burn It All Down has been doing, this is the moment for Deputy Newland to prove himself, prove that he's more than a 2-11 wrestler. And as much as I like Kota Super, as much as I think he is a talented performer, I get this sense in the back of my head that Deputy is the one that might be taking the edge tonight.
Listen, Kota Super has been a phenomenal wrestler, but most of his big wins were coming in trios. He knows how to work as a team. He's a great team guy. But Deputy Newland has him cornered and has been working nonstop with General Hayashima about how to go about doing this. And with Executioner Goro giving the orders with how well he has pegged these matches right now, this match was no accident. All right. And Deputy Newland's going to take the win home tonight.
It's a nice win for him. It gives him an overness boost, a little bit of a morale hit for Kota Super, but nothing he can't handle. It's a nice 4.5 star. And your first holy shit moment of the night is Deputy Newland hits Kota Super, was about to hit him with a finisher, I should say, before they both collapsed from exhaustion. The fans love to see it, and it certainly works out well. I believe that's your highest scoring match of the card so far. And with 3 matches to go, that's definitely something you got to be happy to see.
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest. The goal here was not high scoring matches. I'll be perfectly frank with you. You'll notice something about the matches we did select and the card as it's kind of been let's say engineered. But that right there pays for most of the matches tonight. So that's what the goal was.
Yeah, that's very fair. But there's another goal you have here, which is hyping up a match between Executioner Goro and Kai Galvana in the main event. I'm sure you're going to have more thoughts on this later, but is there anything in particular this package highlights as we get ready for that match later tonight?
Yeah, I mean, Executioner Goro is now very clearly moving on from, he acknowledges he lost to Phil. Okay, he acknowledges he lost to Phil, and it was a miscalculation. It was him thinking he couldn't be beaten after the streak that he had, and after taking the belt off Phil to begin with. To give it back was honestly it infuriated Executioner Goro. He is on fire right now, but it also means that something else clicked in his head, and he says, "You know what? I know I ripped the belt off of Phil, but Phil was a young guy, and he's a hang time." And he's only getting better. And if I can't stand with him right now, I need to go after someone else in Conquest or Death. And 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 now he's thinking about this journey, and he's saying, I have the ability to improve. I can become the most monstrous, terrifying version of myself. And even that right now isn't enough to beat Phil with the direction he's headed. But Phil is incorrectly seen as the number 3 guy in Burn It All Down. Phil's actually the number 2 guy. And I, Executioner Goro, know who the number 3 guy is. And it's the guy wearing the bigger belt right now. And so I'm going after Kai Galvana. I will not just hurt Conquest or Death. I will rip that belt off of the guy everyone thinks is the number 2 wrestler in that promotion, who Johnny is potentially going to tap as the next guy if he doesn't choose Phil. I can take that guy. I can take Kai out. Black Bull already gauged his weaknesses, and Executioner Goro really thinks that he's got Kai pegged. He thinks that Kai is overblown, that he underrated Phil, and that this is the move that not only brings him all of that prestige, but most importantly, will rip apart Conquest or Death from the inside.
I mean, there's certainly a lot at stake here as we see this continue to develop. I think that's fascinating to see Executioner Goro, someone who's picked his targets very carefully, going after a guy like Kai. We will see if he was right to do it, but we have one more match before we get there, which is Oda's Revenge versus Hangtime Heresy. Now, we haven't seen Hangtime Heresy in a while here, Xander. What brings them to the ring as a tag against Oda's Revenge tonight?
Hangtime Heresy were your first tag belt holders. Mm-hmm. And right now, Eric and Elliot are sitting down talking to each other and saying, we aren't getting a single win. Johnny is whooping our ass. Every time we go out in a singles match, someone puts their thumb on the scale. Something happens. It has been so hard for us to get these singles wins because Johnny is so just intense and fixated on making sure we can't win. But one thing Johnny will let us get away with is winning in a tag. We know that Johnny will not actively stand in our way. Doesn't mean he's going to help us. Doesn't mean any of that. But if we're going as a tag after somebody else, especially not for the people or burn it all down, but we're going after someone that doesn't take any of Johnny's thunder. We're just doing a hit job for him on another aspiring tag team. Then we'll be okay. We can do our thing, and this is what we excel at. We are Hang Time Heresy. And so they straight up they ask Johnny, we're not done. We're not done with this feud. We're going to take this faction from you. That's our goal at the end of the day. But can we put this difference aside for one night? One night. We will go put out the hit on Zhuge for you. We will go take out a tag. We will make Conquest or Death look good. We'll keep appearances. And Johnny said, okay. Johnny said, get out of my face. Go. And he set up the match with Oda's Revenge. He's not giving him a title shot. They're not that good. He's not on good terms with them for that. But he wants to take Zhuge down a peg. Blot Out the Sun holding that tag belt and doing it with Oda's Revenge basically by their side as the other tag in this promotion that is constantly... Johnny hates that. Johnny hates that it's not a Conquest or Death belt. And he hates that this new faction has been just so dominant for it. So he lets Hang Time Heresy loose. And Oda's Revenge are going to have to withstand an onslaught. But Yuji and Kaiman, they feel ready. They say, listen, these Hang Time guys, we've seen them lose so much lately. If anyone can beat them right now, it's us. We're going to keep them from getting to Blot Out the Sun.
I mean, I like the idea of Oda's Revenge trying to take a stand here. We know Elliot and Yuji have gone back and forth for a little bit before this. I have to imagine if Hang Time Heresy are going to get a win, this would be the one, right? This is the opportunity for them to get a win. As you said, one that doesn't inherently threaten Johnny's rule. And if not now, when is the question that the Elliot and Eric Hang Time fans are going to have to be asking themselves. Am I right here? Is Hang Time Heresy getting...
They're not going to have to ask long. Hang Time Heresy takes this. It's a dominant performance. They remind people that they are the tag team to beat.
They sure do. That is a 5.5-star match. A crowd interest and blood bonus here. Both very important for getting this match as high as it can be. It's a holy shit moment, which is no surprise when you see a 5.5-star in a weekly like this. Elliot kicking out of Yuji Onishi's finisher, asking to be finished up after getting back up. It's a really, really strong match, and one you have to be very happy with.
Basically paid for the whole card with the last two holy shit moments, so we're made in the shade.
That's absolutely true. And look, as long as you're not an Oda's Revenge fan, you have to be feeling pretty good about how that went down.
Yeah.
But here we are at the Kai Galvana Executioner Goro match. You said a lot about this match earlier. Is there anything you want to add before we get into the final result here tonight?
Just a reminder that, Conquest or Death and Burn It All Down do have a feud that it is ready to rekindle. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Executioner Goro has been trying to set those fires. He's focused on For the People still, that all that's going on, trying to make sure and take them while they're weak. But Executioner Goro's goal is always to be number one. Okay. Everything he does is to that end. And that means that he's going to have to take a belt, and it's going to have to be a big one. He failed against Phil, and he acknowledges, I underestimated Phil. For a young guy, that guy's a talent. That guy might be the scariest guy in the entire promotion. And very honestly, Executioner is thinking about how he's going to get back at Phil. But more importantly, he knows he needs a belt around his waist. Yeah. He knows he needs one. And he's saying now, you know what? Kai's the guy. I'm not ready. I'm not good to go at Johnny yet. That's got to get set up a little more. I just failed against Phil because I underestimated him. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board for that one. But I've sent Black Bull forward. I've seen him wrestle Kai. Kai did not absolutely demolish Black Bull. That was a much closer match. And it's time for me to go after the target I needed to be going after the whole time. And that's this guy.
Now, on the one hand, I think you've been setting up Burn It All Down and rewarding their strategic successes all night. And an Executioner Goro win would be the fulfillment of that. On the other hand, it's a weekly. And I have never seen you turn over a title on a weekly. And I
I have
don't
done
know.
it once.
Interesting. I do not remember that. But
Mm-hmm.
are you doing it for a second time tonight?
I'm not. It is going to be Kai getting the upper hand, but as you can see, that is a 4-3 score. This match is dangerously close. You see the fear in Kai's eyes. It is scary. It is really scary to see, that kind of close nature of the match. Meanwhile, Executioner, he knows that his time is coming, and he thinks firmly that he can rip this off of Kai.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tale of ups and downs if ever I've seen one. The upside here, obviously a nice boost for the men's heavyweight belt. That continues to climb. It's a holy shit moment for as Kyle Galvana suplexes Executioner Goro through the table outside. Your third holy shit moment has to be feeling good, and it's a nice feud starting here between the two of them. On the other
I
hand,
must have had a thing that we forgot.
I don't know what thing you're referring to there because the rating wasn't affected. It's just
No,
Executioner Goro taking a
yeah,
morale hit.
I must have had a no, I must have had a thing for him to not lose that we both forgot about.
I think that is probably what must have happened because there's no other way to
Yep.
explain 16% morale.
Yep.
Uh, well, you hate to see that, but you love to see everything else here, and it is a 4.75 star card. We saw both of our competitors here step up tonight, and you step up just that bit more. Gets you to 9.25 across the two cards so far, and you got to be feeling good about that.
Yeah, well, and most importantly, that card more than paid for itself, thanks to that last holy shit moment in the Kai and Executioner Goro match. That card, it was. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be real with everybody. It was a profit card. Okay, we were going for profit. The fact that we ended up with a 4.75 card on top of it, and a lot of narrative got pushed. That's nothing but dubs. Nothing but dubs tonight. So
Yeah, turns out when you get two 5.5 star matches to close the night, it's pretty good. It
pretty good,
helps
turns
with a
out.
lot of things. But I've still got my card here tonight. I'm going to be doing my best to keep pace and maybe even get at a 5 star weekly. That sure would be nice.
Dare he?
I do dare, though we'll see if the game agrees. I certainly have some things I'm excited about. I'm excited to debut a new wrestler, someone I invested quite a bit of creativity points into, and I'm hoping can really step up in a big way. I've got a couple big faction moments setting up the next stage of a couple big feuds that I'm hoping to capitalize on. And we have one moment coming up here that is going to change the face of Magically Enhanced Wrestling right as we get into Crown of Madness. So we will jump on in. And let's start with the debut package for Ruby Wolfhorn. She's a 21-year-old wrestler who fought her way up from the indies. She doesn't really have a gimmick that you need to worry about, right? She's not someone who sells herself on a specific personality. Her personality is, I'm a babyface and I just do my best. I do my best to fight at every turn. I'm a damn good wrestler and I do it week in and week out. And honestly, that's the kind of personality we love to mold here at Magically Enhanced Wrestling. Like, sure, her charisma isn't great at the moment, but she's a 3-star worker right off the bat. She's not going to have some of those match rating problems that we've seen with some other people. And I am excited to see what she can do. She's about to be tested because just like Arsenico and Techno Boy, the rules of Magically Enhanced Wrestling say that factions that want to take a new wrestler in can come out and challenge her to have her join their faction. And we're going to see tonight which of these factions are willing to take a shot on a talent like Ruby.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And here we go. It is a fatal 4-way street fight match. First off is Kai Hong Ki, right? She's here to represent the Scourge, and she immediately makes this personal. She's like, look, I'm going to beat you so badly that no faction is going to want you on the roster. And it's understandable for Kai Hong, right? She worked her way up. She recently took a huge leap with that stunt dive in order to work her way up the Scourge. She knows how cutthroat her faction is, and she knows how hard she has had to work to find her place in it. And so someone like Ruby Wolfform thinks she's going to just come on in and be this big shot right away. Unacceptable to someone like Kai Hong, who had to work for it every step of the way. Doesn't help that she is inherently evil and is someone who is always looking to undermine someone like Ruby, who may not have a gimmick worth paying attention to, but is a force of good, someone who just wants to be a good wrestler doing her thing. And so it's no surprise that Alana Elise comes out next to represent the Sky Sentinels. And, she seems to earnestly just want Ruby to join. She just came from that headhunting feud against Denise Weston, right? Who kind of showed her, like, look, the Scourge don't care about you, right? They're not treating you well. They're not going to accept someone being a face, kind of going to the beat of their own drum, trying to be a good person. You need to join us. And already we saw that kindness extended to Alana last week when Sumi Kabaya came in to bail her out in that brawl at the Hellfire Club. And so Alana's feeling the love of the Sky Sentinels, and she wants Ruby to find a good home. So here I am, trying to bring you in. Come join us. But where Alana comes, it's no surprise that Tijuana is far behind, because Tijuana is not just here to support the Hellfire Club, right? Make the case that Ruby should join and rebel against these factions, should push back against the idea that any faction is necessary, not by joining independents and their weird cult that they have going on, but by joining something like the Hellfire Club, which is there to rebel against the status quo. And she is here just as much to put Alana in her place, right? This is a who's the best feud. The split of Rude Awakening has been going on for a bit now. And Tijuana needs to prove that Alana Elise and this, goody two-shoes optimism that she's bringing to the table is wrong. That there's one king here, and it's Tijuana. So the question becomes, Xander, who do you think I gave the nod to tonight?
I think Ruby is going to stand on her own and get the win tonight. I think that there's a lot of promise here, but I think Ruby's going to be the one that takes the dub home.
I thought about this long and hard, right? Because Ruby is a little bit lower on the popularity scale than some of the people I've given wins to in their opening match. But at the end of the day, you're 100% right. Ruby has a ton of promise. And she's going up against people who are all inherently going to fight each other, right? The Hellfire Club and the Scourge have a faction feud. The Scourge and the Sky Sentinels have a faction feud. And Tijuana King has her own beef with Alana Elise, right? And with everyone fighting each other, Ruby is able to just be a good goddamn wrestler. And as a result, she wins the match. It's a 5 1/4 star match. It's a hot match, which means that Ruby is now over with the fans. She immediately becomes a 4-2, which is exactly what I wanted to see. It pushes the Sky Sentinels and Scourge of the Underdark feud hot, which I also wanted to see as we head into the pay-per-view. And it gives a boost to everything else coming down the pipeline. I got to say, I'm feeling pretty good about our start here tonight.
Yeah, no, 5 1/4 star match. You got to be happy about that, and good for Ruby. I'll let the viewers know at home. I did try to recruit her, but someone forgot that he was before me in the waiver wire.
I just needed,
and he hurt my feelings.
I was trying to get ahead of the curve, trying to make sure that we were on the same page. But you know what? You can just lose next month if you want to be ahead on the waiver wire. You can just not win the pay-per-view.
Interesting theory. Interesting decision.
You are welcome to do that. And in the meantime, I'm going to celebrate that Ruby Wolfform is now a upper mid-carder and is over in a 4-2. And she's got Black Bull stats and a lot of upside coming down. But the most important thing here is that she seems genuinely touched by Alana's efforts here, because even in a loss, Alana goes to congratulate Ruby. And, we see Johnny at the top of the entrance ramp getting ready to make his pitch for independence. And at the end of the day, she just walks right on by him. Unlike these other faction people who have come into this company, she seems uninterested in what Johnny and Independence are selling.
Unfortunately, Glory of Legends is only allowed to recognize one person named Johnny. So apologies, I wasn't able to hear the last half of what you just said.
Well, that's unfortunate. Mr. Scott was unable to recruit her into Independence, I suppose. But we'll move on. And this is going to be tough for you to look at, Xander, so you can turn your eyes if you need to. But Lucas Meltzer is out doing a promo, and Miracle Oda goes and beats him down. And the fans are like, look, this is our heroic mythical being, Miracle Oda. Why would he do this? And Miracle gets on the mic and makes it very clear. He has been bitter about El Rey Loco's ousting from the beginning, right? This was his tag partner. This was the king of the Western Watch, someone who meant the world to him. And the idea that Lucas Meltzer would just sit there and not only let it happen, but reap the rewards of it all, right? As if he earned the title of second in command. At least the prince had to earn that, right? He usurped the king, and he is going to pay for that. But at the end of the day, that's not Miracle's bounty to cash in. That's El Rey Loco. He is here to put Lucas Meltzer in his place, because Lucas could have stood up for El Rey Loco. He could have, at the very least, left the faction like others did. But instead, he took the easy path. He has demonstrated consistent loyalty to a man in Prince Pretty Pink that Miracle says deserves none. For the prince certainly has no loyalty for the one who set him up for success. And look, this is no surprise to anybody, right? If you've seen these multi-man matches, there are multiple times in which Miracle Oda has not stepped in to prevent attacks against Lucas Meltzer, against Prince Pretty Pink. But this is the active, natural extension of those frustrations. And at the end of the day, this is Miracle saying that you can't be what he needs to be and be a face. He has to get dirty. He has to get his hands dirty and be the fighter that El Rey Loco needs to take back what has been taken from him. And it's a 5-star segment.
Yeah. Listen, your segments are pretty fire right now. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm very
your
happy.
Matches and your segments. It's looking good.
I'm very happy with how this worked out. The Fighting the Darkness immediately increases the new feud I just set up, which is why it's at 76 for minute 1. I'm very happy to see that.
I'm not happy that Lucas lost, of course, and you're mean for doing that. And
he didn't lose. He just got beaten up. It's different. It's not a loss. It won't go on an L streak on his standings. He's fine. He just has some bruises now. But yes, I'm sorry that Lucas needs to take an L here, but Miracle Oda's 0-9, and he needs to step up as well.
Yeah, like it's fair. It's fair. I'll allow it.
Well, and here's the thing. Miracle Oda is not done tonight, but he's not going to attack Lucas Meltzer. He and El Rey Loco, as part of Unbelievable, are turning their attention on Unlimited. And ignore the fact that this says neutral. They were neutral before Miracle Oda turned heel. The game just hasn't updated yet. Unbelievable. They didn't get a lot of matches before El Rey Loco went down. They were obviously in those multi-man matches. The Magic Missiles won that first title. Immediately Red Arrow gets injured. Highway Robbery takes the title. And before Unbelievable can take it back, El Rey Loco goes down. So that 0-4 record, it's tough, but it's all multi-man matches against title holders, right? But he's back after these injuries, right? And Unbelievable, if you ask them, right, they taught Unlimited everything Unlimited knows, right? These were the premier tag team fighters, right? El Rey Loco is a tag team specialist, instilled this idea that the Western Watch would be tag focused. They had 3 different tag duos in the faction when they first launched. And to see Bryson Pierce and Evan Zane take these lessons that El Rey Loco instilled and use them to get ahead, to enable this usurping of El Rey Loco is unacceptable. Unbelievable, one could say. And El Rey Loco and Miracle Oda are here to put him in their place. And, as far as Unlimited are concerned, it's like, look, we just did what we needed to do for the sake of the Western Watch, right? I understand that you're frustrated, El Rey Loco, but you were gone. We needed a leader. We couldn't just be without a leader for months. And Prince Pretty Pink was willing to be that. You should be proud that he took those lessons and became the leader that the Western Watch needs. This is just too far. We can't let you do this. We can't let you keep climbing up this card and eventually take on our biggest members. We need to stop you tonight. So, the Takedown Traders feud is about to begin. Who do you believe I gave the opening salvo to here tonight?
I believe it's unbelievable. Okay, I think that was a slip of the tongue there. All right, and I think it's going to unbelievable because how can I root against El Rey? All right, how can I root against that guy?
Yes, the mad lunatic, the former king, is indeed getting a W tonight. It's a 4.25 star match. It's a little bit of a morale hit for Unlimited, but they have a little bit of morale to spare. Most importantly, it starts the feud between the two of them, and I'm excited to see that continue to play out. And, some people will point out, well, listen, why didn't you go after Magic Missiles, right? They're the ones who actually have the belt right now. Unbelievable. They're the ones who have the most for you to gain from beating. Seems like you're kind of taking the easy way out here a little bit. And we'll see.
Nah.
We'll see if they're willing to challenge for that, or if El Rey Loco is going to keep his eyes firmly focused on challenging Prince Pretty Pink. There's a lot here for them to take. And unfortunately, with El Rey Loco's presumably going fully mad with his new lunatic gimmick, it's hard to predict exactly what comes next. But we do know one thing. He and Miracle Oda are going to do it together. They have formed a new power called Righteous Retribution. And El Rey Loco gets on the mic and makes one thing very clear. There is only one goal for this faction, and it is to destroy the Western Watch. This is going to be an end-of-the-line feud between Righteous Vengeance and Western Watch that will start next week. Because El Rey Loco believes that if he cannot have the Western Watch, if he cannot lead the faction he gave his life for, no one can. And he and Miracle are going to ensure that Prince and the rest of the Western Watch fall to their hands. And, it's a 3.25 star. I wish the efficiency was a little bit better.
It could have been a little better, but it's all good.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It'll get dropped. It's fine. Everything's fine. We move on to a 4-way tag elimination match. And a couple of these should be no surprise to you, right? Out of This World as a part of the Eastern Elite, being targeted by the Southern Sentries in Savage Vengeance and Hylian Cross. That's just the name of the game, right? We saw that 4v4 match between the two factions at the last pay-per-view at Saving Throw. And ultimately, that's how we got this Out of My Way and You Were Warned feud, right? Out of This World being told that they should not be here, that they cannot stop the Southern Sentries, that they're not good enough to stand up to the pure aggression that Hylian Cross and Savage Vengeance can throw out there, both of whom have won their latest tag matches, both of whom are on the rise and have done the Southern Sentries proud. And it's no surprise that the Southern Sentries won that 4v4 at Saving Throw. These wrestlers have proven themselves against Out of This World, and if it was just a 2v1 from a tag perspective, it would be hard to imagine Out of This World doing much of anything in this match. But who should come out to provide assistance but the Shooting Stars? The Sky Sentinels, right? They don't have a formal alliance. This game doesn't have formal alliances, really. But the Sky Sentinels know a bully when they see one. They know that the Southern Sentries have gone too far, that they are resorting to underhanded tactics that undermine everything that magically enhanced wrestling is meant to be about, right? These are the matches that are fought so that the land itself does not go into full-blown war, right? This is how these larger geopolitical issues are handled. These representatives giving what they can. And if the Southern Sentries keep acting the way that they do, it is worse for everyone. So, sure, the Sky Sentinels may not have any true, skin in the game, so to speak, right? They're not going to benefit just because the Eastern Elite get a win here tonight. But if they can slow down the Southern Sentries, if they can give enough time for Out of This World to turn things around, perhaps they can prevent the world in which the Southern Sentries just run rampant over the Eastern Elite and the damage that that would cause. So, between these 4 tags, who do you think I gave the win to tonight?
Oh, this is rough for me. I think it's actually got to go to Shooting Stars tonight, though. I think they're gonna get what I see as a little bit of an upset here and take the dub. I think it's a big win for them.
Well, you are right that Shooting Stars are changing the pace of this match. Without them, Out of This World could not win. But Shooting Stars aren't here to win. They're here to help the Eastern Elite secure a much-needed win in this feud, right? The Shooting Stars, sure, a little popularity, a little bit of morale, it couldn't hurt, right? But they're going to be fine. The Eastern Elite have been getting their ass kicked by the Southern Sentries. So ultimately, what they're here to do is weaken Savage Vengeance and Highland Cross. They're there to make sure Out of This World aren't ganged up on. And while both of these female competitors go out relatively early, it is enough time for Sammy Emerald to bounce back and have an incredible performance in this, eliminating 4 different wrestlers to secure a win tonight. And it gets Malachite Bronson over with the fans. It is a nice match for her, despite the hit overall. And it's a holy shit moment as DJ Vector slaps the taste out of Riku Inoki's mouth. So, Sky Sentinels with a reputation hit, a holy shit moment, 4 3/4 stars. I'm going to call that a success here, Xander.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it's definitely a success.
But we will move on to a champion package for Light and Shadow. Light and Shadow, of course, just took the Keepers of the Realm belt. And they see themselves as the saviors of the women's tag division, right? Overflow, they weren't ready. They needed some work. They needed to put in the kind of effort that was necessary to rise to the level of overness and popularity that they have now. And they still have a ways to go, right? The Kaihon Ki and Hana Rukawa, they are not main eventers yet. But they're working on it. And Rude Awakening could have been that tag, right? But according to Light and Shadow, Tijuana King didn't have the fortitude to be a true leader and to keep Alana Elise in her place, right? She let Alana Elise turn face and eventually leave for the Sky Sentinels? If Tijuana King was the wrestler that she says she is, that never would have happened. And so it's no surprise that it took this super team of Emu Amikio, someone who is on her way to becoming a face of the company as an individual, and Kagetsi, who, despite a lot of early losses in this company, has really powered herself out by turning to the occult and finding this deeper energy to her. This is what it takes to build a real championship. And they have ensured that they're an incredible force that, by their own words, will not be stopped by a Sky Sentinels tag by any means necessary. So, there you go. Light and Shadow, getting a level up for my champion package and giving the Keepers of the Realm a boost that hopefully gets them to be a Silver Star belt soon. Any thoughts here before I move on?
No, I love champion packages like this. They're always a good time. I think that Light and Shadow are someone I've wanted to see move up. We kind of called me. I think me and Walter called them to both win last time, right? So it's one of those things where I'm definitely happy to see some highlight on them.
Absolutely. And speaking of some highlights, we have an interesting match between Tilly Cooper and Briar Allison, right? This has been described as a "you stole Tilly" feud, right? The Sky Sentinels are mad at the Scourge because Tilly Cooper was one of their own, and Ariana Black, with her twisted words, right? With her, getting in Tilly's ear and convincing her that Lorena didn't care about her, that the Sky Sentinels weren't here to set her up for success, right? Briar's like, look, you're going down a bad path. You lied to, you've been manipulated. And it's not too late to come back to the Sky Sentinels. And Tilly's fed up with this idea that she was stolen. She's like, how dare you deny my agency in this, right? I saw the writing on the wall. I saw that Ariana Black, whatever losses the Scourge were taking, she was willing to do what needed to be done to set up that faction for long-term success. I believe in what she's doing, and I believe I've joined the winning side in the long run. You have no idea what I want, but you cannot tell me that I was stolen. You cannot take my agency away from me. How dare you? And Briar's like, look, okay, you know what? Fine. If that's what you want, just give us back our documents, right? Give us back the things that you got to hold on to because you were a member of the Sky Sentinels, right? These are not just factions in a wrestling company, right? These are the stand-ins for a geopolitical feud. And like, look, Tilly, if you're not one of us, then you don't get the privileges of being one of us. So hand over the documents. Tilly's like, you know what? You want them? Take them. So this is a Sky Sentinel Secrets on a pole match here, Xander.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is great. This is great. And I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to get straight ahead of it. I'm rooting for Briar Allison to take the secrets off of Tilly. I think that Tilly, is holding them up here. That, she's the authoritarian patriot. And, well, shit, I guess actually it's probably Tilly keeping him for the first bout, isn't it? This is the first one, right?
It is the first one. And
yeah, so okay. So then it's gonna be Tilly keeping it.
She's lost a lot of matches to Lorena Lucier and is nostalgic for the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. You're fine. I realized as it came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, this is the first one. So it's gonna be Tilly holding on to him for now. But I love it. I love the setup here. It's a great way. That's probably the best use of a pole match I've seen since the initial Eduardo creativity points on a pole.
I do like his teddy bear on a pole matches, but I'm very proud of this one, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's a nice match. It's a holy shit moment as Tilly Cooper slaps the taste out of Briar Allison's mouth. That's 30 creativity points I desperately needed because I am broke.
I am broke.
Look, I may have gotten.
I am broke. I am broke. Yeah.
Ruby Wolfram was not cheap, man. That's all I'm saying. But it's a nice match here. It starts a feud between Briar and Tilly, and really helps. I mean, I didn't know that the You Stole Tilly feud was going to be hot before this, so this was kind of my insurance policy, and I'm happy that it worked out. But I am very concerned by what I'm about to see, right? Because Cyan Orion, she's backstage. She is, just getting ready, just kind of like, celebrating after the match, right? She's back in the locker room, and she's just going to get a little snack for herself, right? Like it's a nice win. I deserve a little treat from the vending machine. And what she doesn't know is that Emu Mikio has dug a hole on the other side of the locker room, and she is going to knock the vending machine over onto Cyan Orion. It is a devastating hit, and it is going to keep Cyan Orion out of competition for at least a couple months. She's hurt badly by this dangerous attack. And Emu, she's asked, like, why would you do this? What are you, how could you possibly justify this blatant aggressive assault. You could have killed her. That's a vending machine. People die from that. And Emu, it's just like, look, the crown of madness is about to take off. And you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to let the Sky Sentinels go 2-on-1 against us, right? We know that the Shooting Stars have already challenged us once before. They have a rivalry against us. They want revenge. And we know Flying High are coming back. So you know what? You can be mad all you want that we've taken Scion out. But all we've done is protect what's ours. It's like we said, by any means necessary. And Emu walks away. And Malachite, of course, goes in to take care of her injured teammate, but it's too late to do much about it. She maybe prevents the worst of the damages, but all she can do is really get her former partner onto a stretcher, get her to some doctors, and we'll see how long Scion is unavailable. But a brutal, brutal attack. And one that, if nothing else, makes it means that the Shooting Stars and Lane Shadow feud's going to be hot moving forward. It's a hot segment for Emu and Scion, and there are going to be a couple things that really pick up after this. But I mean, can you just believe the brutality that we just witnessed?
I sure can, and I love it, and I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, look, Dangerous Attack is one of those. It's a nice segment. I'm happy about it from a storyline perspective. The fact that I'm not going to have Scion Orion here for a couple months does hurt, but I had a mission from her to write her off of the show. So
yeah,
you're written off of the show. We'll see you in 2 months. Have fun.
See you in 2 months. Have fun. Enjoy your time off.
Yeah, believe it or not, she was not crushed to death by a vending machine, folks. I didn't air that on television.
Yeah, should have, but no, I'm just kidding.
Hey, give it a couple of months. Give it a couple of months. But we move on to our last match of the night between Ashton Nieves and Derek Nash. Ashton obviously has a feud right now against La Bestia del Infierno, who just took the King of the Thunderdome title away from him. But Derek is like, look, I'm not content watching La Bestia del Infierno take all the glory and victory for himself. And I'm not just going to keep kicking Techno Boy's ass, though I could, and I probably will get back to doing that sooner rather than later. But you know what, Ashton? I acknowledge you're a real challenge. You're a real threat. And at the end of the day, my job is to elevate the Hellfire Club and take you down a notch. So you know what? If you believe that the King of the Thunderdome title is yours, you should have no problem getting through me. And if I do get through you, then you know what? I think your faction leader over there, who's just kind of hiding in the shadows, acting like he can just hold on to the Flame Warlock title without a competition, I think he's going to have to prove it against someone like me. And El Muerte Blanco, of course, furious about this, comes out and says, look, when Ashton beats you tonight, you're not allowed to fight me. You will be banned from challenging me for my title. And not only that, but you're going to let Ashton pick the stipulation for the Flame Warlock, for the King of the Thunderdome championship. Excuse me. Because Ashton's going to earn that tonight. And Derek says, sure, man. But when I make Ashton submit, I earn a guaranteed shot against you. Or are you too much of a coward to agree to that? And El Muerte Blanco just kind of mumbles under his breath. You get a few swears that have to be bleeped out from our television channel, but he ultimately agrees. And so that's where we're at. An Ashton victory blocks Derek Nash from a title attempt, and it secures his opportunity to choose the match for the King of the Thunderdome belt. But a win for Derek secures him a shot against El Muerte Blanco for the Flame Warlock title. The stakes are big. Who will submit tonight, and who will get the W?
The W is going to Derek Nash. Ashton Nieves comes out looking hot, looking good, but Derek pulls it out from the clutches of defeat. And just is able to overcome, and he's going to get the shot. That's my call.
Man, it's like you read the script or something. It's a 4.5 star, which isn't really the thing I wanted to have doubled. I know that submission matches aren't really known for their like highest ratings possible, but
I wanted you to have that doubled with how good the card was early.
yeah, man. We'll see. I don't know what that means. I'm hoping
You might still get 4.75. You have like 4.75 plus like a 5.5. I think you still did it. I think you still got a 4.75. But
I'm feeling good overall. Let's see. I got another holy shit moment, which I desperately
you made
needed.
some creativity. Yeah, you made some creativity points back. So
I needed it because again, Ruby was not
yeah,
cheap. But
yeah.
Derek suplexing him onto the apron gets the fans crazy. It's 30 creativity points, and it does mean that at Crown of Madness we are going to see El Muerte Blanco versus Derek Nash, and that's going to be two different Civil War belts. Because we already know that Ashton Nieves is going to try to get his revenge against La Bestia del Infierno. So this feud is
Can't
getting
wait.
hot. 4.75. Okay.
We're tied. We stay tied.
We keep pace. I thought if that match was good, if that was a
Oh,
5
for sure.
or
If that
more,
match was good, you almost got a 5-star. Yeah, or you
I
got a 5-star. Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I'm not going to worry about what could have happened. Everything I wanted from a narrative perspective, everything I wanted from certain feuds going hot, all the feuds that I started, the holy shit moments, I feel good about what this means. Now, Campeonato de Luchasaur unfortunately does fall to Reputation 6. We don't really look at this too often. It's not really going to be a problem at the end of the day because I don't think Eduardo is planning on signing anyone new right away. But we have seen how some successive losses can be a problem for someone like Walter. And yeah, it's going to be another week in which both Eduardo and Walter improve on last week, but end up just a little bit short. I am going to get the W as far as the fans go for the second week in a row.
Yeah, that the dangerous attack going hype, I think was pretty big there. You jumped up hardcore on that. That was good.
It certainly helped. 23 points to 3 different feuds. Turns out to be pretty good. But obviously you still gain fans. Eduardo and Walter, I mean, basically very similar cards. I bet if Walter was maybe a little bit higher on a base reputation, that could have flipped the other way. But that 1.4K isn't really a meaningful difference. At the end of the day, everyone got better from last week. And everyone is still close enough, right? If Eduardo or Walter get a 5-star card and you and I slip, it's not out of grasp. But you and I, it's going to continue to be neck and neck. And I'm hungry for it, man. I want to take you down. I want to get that point and have us tied at the pay-per-view. So it's not enough to tie you next week. We'll see if
and I want to win the weeklies and the pay-per-view and go up by 2 points.
I'm sure you do, and we will see which one of us gets what we're hoping for. But for now, it's time for us to sign off here. Xander, where can the nice folks at home find you?
As always, folks, you can find me on all socials at Tentacle Coach, but more importantly, very key, in fact, please go follow Brooklyn College Esports, especially if you know some collegiate gamers, send them our way. We're looking to train the best and the brightest, give them a solid degree. Brooklyn College Esports at CUNYBC Esports. Go give them some love. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely give them some love. They do some great stuff. Xander, you've done an incredible job with that program, and the future is bright at Brooklyn College. I can tell you that.
Thank you.
But you can find me at Chase Wassenaar on Blue Sky. I love hearing from people, so definitely let me know if you had a favorite match, if there's a favorite company you cling to, right? I feel like everyone has a different philosophy. So forget the score. Just tell us from a storytelling perspective, what is it you love? What is it you want to see? Would love to get your thoughts. But for now, we're going to take a bit of a break. We're going to let everyone make their next weekly card, and we will come back with the closing night of our weekly shows for this set of the competition. And until then, goodbye, Internet.